Hello, this is author R.K. Bingham, and today I'm going to show you some basic HTML for publishing your ebook. HTML, you say? Well, it may surprise you to know that an ebook in the form that goes on a Kindle and other readers is little more than a mere web page. And once you get it in your web page, there are some things you need to do to it in order to convert it to an ePub. But once you do, if you do it right, you will be able to use one file to publish to all platforms: Kindle, Nook, Kobo, even iTunes, iBooks. So let's get started. The first thing you need is going to be a style sheet. You can think of a style sheet as basically a template to tell your document what styles to use for several different types of fields, your headings, your paragraphs, etc. And you'll find a simple style sheet and the other template that I'm going to be using in this video at my website at rkbingham.com/info/just-authors, and I will annotate this video with that address so you can easily copy it and download it. This is a pretty simple style sheet and doesn't have everything in it that you're going to possibly need. Pretty much for a beginner and even somebody that may be a little more advanced, it may suffice you for a long time. But as you learn a little bit about HTML and particularly cascading style sheets, which is what CSS stands for, you're going to probably want to tweak it some. These settings, some of them are arbitrary on my part, my own preferences, but they work pretty well. So you can just go ahead and just copy all of this stuff on this page, starting with the very first P right here. Select it all, and then just go all the way down to the bottom of the page and copy it, and then paste it into a document. And once you do that, just name that document ebook.css. or whatever you want to name it, as long as you have your HTML file set to that name. But for this video, that's what I've got it named in the header of the HTML document. So the P field is for most paragraphs, and it indents like you're used to seeing most paragraphs that be indented. P.start does not indent the paragraphs, and you'll need that because you never want to indent the first paragraph of a chapter, or if you have different parts of a particular chapter, different sections, you don't want to indent the first paragraph of each section. You may not have realized that. I didn't when I first started writing, and went back after I had seen that somewhere, and lo and behold, every book I looked in, that was the case. So that is a standard, and that's the way I've got it formatted. So that works real well if you use the P.start for your first paragraphs. Then the rest of them can be just a normal P. They'll be indented just like you're expecting them to be indented. P.block I've defined for making block quotes, and these next three items are P.large, P.medium, P.small, all abbreviated, LG, MED, SM. Those are all for if you want to have something displayed to look like a header, but you don't want to have those included in a kind of virtual table of contents that you will be creating when you convert from HTML to ePub. That'll make it easy to not select those for your table of tins that you, if you don't want them in there. You'll notice where it says font size, and a lot of these I've got 1.5 EM here, 2.0 EM here. And EM, that's basically just the size of the letter M is where that term comes from. And it translates pretty good for an ebook rather than using font size, because no matter what size device they have, it's going to be using the width in proportion to the size of their screen, if that makes sense. Whereas if you use font size, that can get a little bit kludgy, and you may not know what you're going to be getting. And I want to discourage you from specifying in here, in any of these styles, a particular font, because if you dictate what font to use, first of all, you may choose a font that's not going to be available to the e-reader that the user is using, if they're using Kobo, Nook, Kindle, whatever, or it may be available, and you're going to have a reader that like me likes to have a certain type of font when they're reading, and you're going to really irritate them by forcing them to use a font that they may not like to use. So just let it use the system font. Don't specify a font. That'll make your life easier and it'll make your readers more happy. So then you have your headers for H1 for heading 1. I have a separate one for italics on heading 1. You could create one of those for each of your headings. I have them all the way down to heading 6, which heading 6 is 1.0 EM, which is going to be pretty much the same size as your regular text. It is font weight bold, which means it's in bold. It's on the left-hand side. I put the H heading 4 all the way through heading 6 on the left side alignment rather than centered as the other headings are. You can change that if you prefer. I mix that up sometimes. And these last ones, this slash mark with the asterisk, that's for comments that the browsers will ignore those lines. And this tells you that these div sections are for images. We're not going to be getting into images in this particular video. Maybe we'll do that at another time. So yeah, once you get all that copied in, then you're ready to start on your HTML. And in order to do that, first thing you're going to need to have a decent editor. I like to use one called Notepad++, and I do that because, number one, it's a very good editor. It's very powerful, and number two, it's free. So I recommend it, and I'll give you the URL to download that from, or you can just search for Notepad++ in your search engine on your browser, and you'll find it quite readily. The URL will be in the same place on my webpage as the links to these other templates. And the other template that I was speaking to you about is the book file itself. And you'll see I've got a web page with an example book that I've already completed. It's a short book. It only has 3 chapters, an introduction, and a bibliography. But it serves as a template for what we're doing. So what you'll want to do is once you open that up, you right click, and depending on what browser you're using, whether it's Internet Explorer, Firefox, or Chrome, you will click on View Source, or on yours it may say View Page Source after you right click. And once you do that, you'll get this, and that'll show you all the actual HTML on it. And what you'll want to do is just click on Edit, and then choose Select All. That'll select the entire document. Then Edit again and choose Copy. Then you can close that once you've copied that. Go into your Notepad++ or whatever editor you're going to use. There's plenty of others out there. Right click and choose paste. It didn't type. Oh, wonderful. So that means I need to view the source again. Edit, select all, edit, copy. Boom, let's minimize that this time. Go back in and choose paste, and boom, it's all in there. Okay, so we go up to the very top of the page, and this part is called your header. And let's see, you'll notice that each tag in a document has a closing or end tag. So if you look here, you've got head right here, and you've got one with slash head. The slash head delineates the ending of that section of tag. So this is the start of the head. That's the end of the head. Basically, the only thing that you're going to need to modify here is the title. In this case, I put best-selling novel. That's the title of the book, which we'll get to the title page in a minute. This is merely the title of the page of the HTML page. This part does not get displayed to the user in their browser. That's there for your benefit and for the benefit of the search engines, robots, when they come around to your web page. If you're actually putting this on a web page, which you're actually not going to, but it's going to be displayed in your ePub. So it's important to put it and get it right here. And again, these are the way comments are displayed in the in HTML, with the little angle bracket and the exclamation point and a couple of dashes there, and then the closing part of the remark. That just tells the browser, don't pay any attention to this. This is just a comment. So this is the very end right here of the head section. The body is where your book goes, and that's this part right here. So here I've marked another comment where you begin your title page. I've got H1 set as the title itself. I have H2 for a subtitle, which you may or may not have a subtitle. And then H3 I'm using for the author's name. And so you'll see that displayed in this manner. That's how the different sizes, H1, H2, and H3, how they work out. You can adjust those in your style sheet if you don't like the size you have there. That's fine. So the next part is for your copyright page. I've used the p.class. If you'll remember, in the style sheet, have our p.centered. I'm sorry. P.centered means that I want to have that particular text centered. And here I've got, if you'll notice, it had p.centered in the style sheet. In order for the browser to identify what section uses that, instead of using p.centered here, I would say p with a space inside that tag. This is all inside that angled tag. And you'll have class equals, and then centered in quotation marks. The quotation marks are important, as all punctuation is in HTML. So you'll want to not miss that. So there I've got copyright 2014, all rights reserved. Then I started, there's the end tag for that. There's another starting tag for that, the centered text that I want to follow that, all rights reserved, etc., blah, blah, blah. Then I put my closing tag there. So that takes care of the copyright page. The BR, you don't have to have a space in there, but at some point you're going to be converting, when you go to XML, you're going to be converting to XML, which is just another web page form. And XML will insist on you having your breaks, which is what this is, with a space in between the BR and the slash inside the angle brackets. So I just use them all the time now. So there's no reason not to use them. The browser understands them either way. So I just use them all the time. That's one less thing I have to correct whenever I go to XML. The next section I've used for the About the Author page. I've seen various authors put those in various different places. In this document, I'm just going to put it right here. There's the comment. I'm using heading 3 for About the Author. I've put in a couple of paragraphs of lorem ipsum text here for an example. Notice I've got the first paragraph for the starting paragraph as class equals start, so that it won't be indented. So we don't indent the first paragraph in any section. And then the second paragraph, I've got that as a normal P, so it does get indented. And whoops, that will be displayed just like this. There's the non-indented paragraph, there's the indented paragraph. So, moving on from that section, we go to their table of contents. There's the comment for that, telling you exactly where to put it. Okay, so there are a couple of things to notice right here where the table of contents starts, and that's we have a H2 tag that we're using, which will center and put in bold and make the word contents. You could have table of contents. I just used the word contents. It'll put that in the center of the page. The second thing that I've got here is ID equals TOC. And that ID is important because it's going to tell the e-reader that this is your table of contents. TOC is universally understood as table of contents. So putting that there, you're going to mark that another way when you go to an ePub, if you're depending on what type of ePub conversion you use. If you do just a online conversion, there are some utilities out there to do that. I discourage you from using those, and that's because they don't give you the freedom to break the document down into pages that amount to separate internal files, which is very good to do, and we may talk about that a little more because it's important for some of the platforms, especially iTunes. iTunes is not very friendly if you don't do things exactly a certain way. So anyway, that tells the e-reader that this is the table of contents. I've used the P class for centered for each one of my table of contents entries. You don't have to center the table of contents. You could have it all left justified if you want to. It's a personal preference. I think it works better for an e-reader. If you don't agree, do it the way you want to. That's perfectly fine. It's personal. The other thing that's important about the way I've got this lined up here is before we get to the word introduction, notice we got two closing tags. Got a /A to close the href here. We got a /P to close the P tag here. You got to do that for each one of your table of contents entries. Notice we have in this anchor, that's what the A is. That's an anchor tag. We have href equals, and then in quotation marks, we got a £sign and a short word. And the £sign is important, as is that short word, because what that does is it tells the browser that when you click on this link, when the user clicks on this link here, and that's what this will be, is a link, you, browser, need to go and look for an ID tag somewhere, an ID attribute in this document that has the word intro in it. So the browser goes down, somebody clicks the intro, the browser goes down, and we'll go down to the introduction section, and here it is, H2, another heading 2 tag with the attribute ID equals, in quotation marks, intro, and there's the introduction. So that tells the browser, you found it, this is the right place, stop here. So the same thing happens with chapter 1. I've got it as pound chapter 1, so it's going to look for an ID equals chap 1, and let's go down here to chapter 1. There's another H2 tag with ID equals chap 1 in quotations, so it knows to stop there. Same thing for chapter 2. Go all the way down here. There's ID equals chap 2. It knows to stop there for chapter 2. And for bibliography, I've got it as pound biblio, so it's going to look for ID equals biblio, and boom, there it is right there. So the way that works is, where a user clicks on introduction, boom, whoops, it goes to introduction. And then go back to chapter 1. Same thing goes for the bibliography and all of the chapters. So, there you go with the explanation of table of contents. Now, moving on from table of contents, we get to our rest of our book file. Let me go all the way back. Okay. So we got our table of contents. Like I said, we've only got these 2 chapters, an introduction and a bibliography defined. Following this pattern is pretty easy to see how you would do the rest of them. You just have to choose a short word for the ID for each of your other chapters in your book, and then you just map out your entire table of contents that way. So then you start with your book. I'm using a heading 2 tag for the chapter title. In this case, it's the introduction title. There's my first paragraph with a classical start, so it doesn't get indented. Each one of the got a closing tag after that. Each one of the paragraphs following that are just regular P's, so they do get indented. And so I'll put several paragraphs in there so you can see that. And close each one of those. Then you move on to your next one. Chapter 1, do the same thing with all that. And on and on. And you just have to format your book accordingly. Of course, this is a pretty simplistic model. As you delve into your style sheets, you're going to see other things you're going to be doing, and you're going to want to get some images in some of your books eventually too. So you'll have to learn how to use those divs. But basically, that's going to be how you create your ebook file. You'll see we get down to the bibliography, and we've got all of our references. We don't really have any references, but if we did, we'd have them numbered 1 in brackets, 2, 3, 4, and then they'd have all their proper credits given to the sources right here. So let's see. Is there anything else I want to cover? We may be short on time here. I think that's going to be just about it. Actually, we've covered this a little quicker than I was thinking we might, so that's a good thing. But yeah, this is a short book, but that's how you create it. And again, once you do create it, you're going to need to load it up into a ePub converter, or convert it in some way. I like to use one called Sigil, S-I-G-I-L. You can download that for free. It's a very powerful one, and it works very well. And it'll let you go in and select the end of the page within the program, and you can split it So that will mean you'll split each page into its proper form. You'll split right here, you'll have a title page. Split right there, you'll have a copyright page. You'll split here, and so forth, all the way down through each chapter and each section of your book. They won't actually be separate files, but they'll be separate internal files within the ePub. So the ePub, if you look in the metadata for the ePub itself, and that's a term that you really don't have to know, but it'll see it as all little files, and some of the formats really work a lot better for that. iTunes especially. iTunes is real persnickety if you don't do things a certain way, so I encourage you to do this. You'll also want to validate your HTML before you go into the ePub format, and then once you get your ePub done, you'll want to validate it. Sigil itself has an internal validator called Flight Crew. In addition to that, you're going to want to use the standard on the internet. There's one that if you Google it for validating ePubs, it'll come back and tell you it's IDPB something or other. Anyway, if you look for that, or if you want to drop me a line and ask me, I'll be more than happy to look that up for you. But you'll definitely want to validate that before you submit to iTunes, because if it won't pass that, you're not going to pass iTunes, and you might not pass some of the others if you don't have it particularly well constructed. You don't want any errors. You want it all to be just right as far as the HTML, the XML, and all of that formatting goes. So. And if you have a question, if it's not too technical, I'm not a real technical person, but I'll be more than happy to help you if I can. If this video has helped you, please visit my Facebook fan page at facebook.com/BinghamRK and give it a like. Also, my Amazon Author Central at amazon.com/authors/RBingham. I've got a Goodreads page at goodreads.com/RK Bingham, and Google Plus google.com/+RK Bingham. Twitter at Bingham RK. I follow back, so if you'll give me some likes and follows, I'd be more than happy to do the same for you. Drop me a line, an email. Better still, buy one of my books and give me an honest review on Amazon, and I'll truly be grateful. Good luck on your writing, and don't ever stop.